Hello everybody, in this video I'm going to be talking to you about the notes page on the TI Nspire CX CAS calculator. Many of you are probably familiar and comfortable working in the calculator page, but may not be aware of the notes page, which is arguably the most powerful application on the TI Nspire CAS. Now, to access the notes page, if we're starting on the home screen like this, if we cycle through to the yellow tile, we can press enter and open up a notes page. If we already happen to be in a document, then to open up a notes page, we press Doc, Insert, and then option number 8 for Notes. So within the notes page, we can type in text, so hello, but we can also more powerfully perform calculations like that on the calculator page. Now, to do that, we first of all need to insert what's called a math box. So if we go to the menu, we first of all note that it looks a little bit different from the calculator menu, and that's okay. So we want to insert a math box, insert math box, and that brings up this nice red perforated box. And it's in these boxes which we can perform the calculations just like that on the calculator page. So if I want to work out, or if I'm in a SAC or an exam and I've had a mental blank and I think, oh, what is 2 plus 2? Right, I press enter and it spits out 4. So in this case, our input here is colored blue and our output is colored in green. Now, as I just said, it has the full functionality of the calculator page. So in our menu, we have this option called calculations. And if we explore this, we see that the menus, the submenus, are actually identical to that of the calculator page. So you actually have a calculator page built into your notes page. So we still have our old friend solve and system of equations. We still have our friend derivative, integral, and all that stuff. Now you're probably wondering, well, why would I perform calculations on a notes page? Like why do I need to learn something new and something different? Well, as I said, the notes page is by far the most powerful page in the CX CAS calculator. So what I'm actually going to do for you is actually show you some examples of just how powerful it can be. So I made these files some time ago. So at the top here, I've got 2 points, x1, y1, and x2, y2. And down below, I've got information pertaining to some coordinate geometry. So gradient, midpoints of 2 points, the distance between 2 points, the angle that the line makes from the x-axis, the equation of the line that passes the 2 points, and the axial intercepts of that line. So what we can do is, let's say we're given the points 0, 3, 5, 0. All right, let me get our answers. Let's say maybe in a month's time or in the next question of tests, we might be given 2 new points. Maybe we're given the old 1, 2, 3, 4. So as we enter in our inputs 1, 2, 3, 4, I want you to take just notice of this gradient output just for now as I update. And we see that what's happening is that as I'm changing my inputs, the outputs are changing and everything else below has updated. So the moral of the story here, and the reason why the notes page is so powerful, is that with our inputs, when we perform calculations and when we input them, if those calculations happen to be linked, then everything updates automatically. So if I were to explore what I've done here with the gradient, if you've seen my previous video on UDFs, in a similar fashion as how I define gradient, y2 minus y1 over x2 minus x1. So if I were to update maybe the second coordinate of y, something a bit more exotic as 9, then that updates everything that's linked to this definition of wire2, which in this case happens to be absolutely everything. Okay, so the real affordance of this particular application of the notes page is that you can have something like this created, ready to go before you walk into a tech active assessment. You're in the SAC, you're in the exam, and then all you need to do is open up your file, your notes page, and then enter in your inputs, and then go from there. So this particular notes page relating to coordinate geometry is quite a standard and basic one from probably year 10 and year 11 methods. Probably more of a year 12 style notes page application could be one of them, such as the following. So here I've got some function. Might just change it. I'll go for something, maybe a cubic. So x minus 2, x minus 1, and let's go x plus 3. Right. So I've defined my cubic function. Here's my domain from -10 to 10. Then what it's going to spit out for me here is the derivative of my function, all the coordinates of my stationary points. So there's a pair xy and xy. The absolute maximum, the coordinate of the absolute maximum of my function over that domain, and the coordinate of the absolute minimum of my function over that domain. So imagine you're year 12, you're walking into a SAC or an exam, and you're playing around with calculus, which is highly likely on any assessment, since calculus is a main feature of the course. By having all of this predefined in a notes page, you can save considerable amount of time and effort in performing calculations, rather than if you were to work in the old calculator page. Okay. So hopefully I've convinced you somewhat of using a notes page, or at least exploring a notes page, or whether it's just from the basic 2+2, or if we want to be more exotic and say define a function. Oops. Say define. Actually, I'll use the calculator menus. So let's say we want to define f of x equal to x squared minus 3 times x. And if we want to solve and find the x-intercepts, so menu calculations, our old friend solve. So solve fx equals 0 for x. We get 0 and 3. And as I've shown you before, if we were to change this to maybe something more exotic, such as x squared minus 3x cubed, as we do that, the input has updated automatically. Okay. So that's the main point of difference between the notes page and the calculator page, is this dynamic nature of the notes page. There are quite a few more tricks associated with the notes page, but the main affordance is this dynamic nature. Okay. So hopefully you've taken something away interesting and valuable, and I encourage you and implore you to play around and explore the notes page in further detail. Okay. If you have any questions, please do feel free to comment below.